When no doctor could help. A cleaning lady saved a millionaire's son in an unbelievable way. The mansion loomed over the quiet street, the kind of place that whispered secrets of wealth and power. The golden sun sank low, casting long shadows that danced like spirits in its light. Inside, chaos unfolded, screams echoed through the glistening marble halls, and the air was thick with panic. In one elegant room, young Oliver Sterling lay motionless on the floor, his pale face striking against the vibrant red rug. No doctor could save him now. The wealthy elite gathered, their voices rising in a frenzy, but nothing could drown out the dreadful truth. He was dying. Then, as if fate had a wicked sense of humor, in walked Lydia, the cleaning lady. She wore a simple blue uniform, a stark contrast to the opulence around her. Imagine that. The sparkle of diamonds and silk, collapsing under the weight of a single woman with a mop in hand. And yet, there was something in her eyes, an ancient wisdom, perhaps. Those who noticed her exchanged uneasy glances, their shock evident. The hushed whispers spread like wildfire. What could she possibly do? They scoffed, but Lydia didn't flinch. She stepped over the bodies of the gasping socialites, her heart racing, determination sharpening her senses. Lydia kneeled beside Oliver, her hands trembling slightly as she pressed her palm to his icy forehead. A sensation washed over her, a warmth that felt both foreign and familiar. Was it a mere delusion? She felt the tightness in her chest ease into something more profound, a calling. Time slowed. She had nothing but hope to cling to, and she wasn't ready to let go. The room fell silent. All eyes were locked on her. What would she do next? Would she invoke magic, or would this just be another tragic end? Behind her, the power players shared equal parts worry and contempt. Just a cleaning lady, someone whispered. The tension surged. Lydia inhaled deeply, ready to act, fully aware that lives hung in the balance. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Lydia's voice broke the silence. I know how to help him. There was an electric tremor in the air. How could she of all people be the one to claim that? In a room crowded with experts and the crème de la crème of society, her statement carried the weight of a thunderstorm. And still, there was disbelief. Suddenly, Oliver gasped, a low moan escaping his lips. His chest heaved, stirring the collective dread that had gripped everyone. Lydia seized the moment, her hands working with an urgency fueled by compassion, every muscle in her being focused on one goal. Just then, a shadow flickered past the doorway. A figure was watching intently, hidden from view. Who were they? Why did their presence seem to thicken the tension in the room? As Oliver's eyes fluttered open, the question hung heavy in the air: what would happen next? Would this mystery figure alter the story unfolding before them? The crowd held its collective breath, the air charged with nerves and intrigue, waiting for the next twist in this harrowing fate. The air crackled with tension, and Lydia felt it in her bones as Oliver's eyes fluttered open. His gaze focused on her, confusion dancing in the depths of his blue irises. The room was a mixture of gasps and whispers, uncertainty weaving through the crowd like a snake. What was happening? The weight of scrutiny pressed down on her, but she couldn't let fear consume her. Oliver, can you hear me? She spoke softly, almost a hush that cut through the chaos. Her hands remained on his forehead, the warmth of her touch radiating to his chilled skin. He blinked, slowly processing her presence. Lydia? His voice was weak, barely a whisper, but it sent ripples of hope through her. She nodded, determination igniting in her chest. Yes, it's me. You're going to be okay. But deep inside, she battled against the gnawing dread. Could she really save him? Behind her, the elites exchanged glances filled with skepticism and incredulity. "What does she know?" muttered one man, clutching his whiskey tumbler as if it were a lifeline. "She's just a cleaning lady." But then, a sudden sharp inhale from Oliver silenced the critics. He gasped again, deeper this time, as if trying to seize the air that had been so cruelly denied him moments before. Yet, Lydia could see the struggle in him, each breath a precious gift, but fragile as spun glass. "Just breathe," she urged, willing every ounce of her energy into those words. "In and out. I'm here." As if on cue, the flickering shadow moved closer, breaking free from concealment. A tall figure slipped into the doorway, their presence instantly magnifying the room's tension. Lydia's heart raced as she caught a glimpse of the face. It was Adeline Sterling, Oliver's mother, her expression a chaotic mix of desperation and disbelief. Adeline's hands were trembling, her eyes wide as she barely registered what was unfolding. "What is happening?" Adeline choked out, the words rippling through the crowd like an ominous wave. Fear gripped her heart. Could this woman really do what so many couldn't? Lydia glanced at Adeline, taking a breath to steady herself. "He's fighting, but he needs us to believe." The crowd felt the gravity in her words, a collective murmur floating through the air, and then it happened. Oliver's breath stuttered, his eyes rolling back briefly as fear flickered across his features. The entire room went still, breaths collectively held, hearts thudding like war drums. "Keep breathing, Oliver," Lydia shouted, clutching his shoulders firmly to anchor him, grounding her own spiraling thoughts. Suddenly, a sudden surge of energy coursed through her. Was it instinct or sheer will? She closed her eyes for a split second, focusing harder than ever, pouring every ounce of faith into him, but behind her, the shadowy figure shifted, revealing more than just a silent observer. Lydia sensed a presence, menacing and dark, lurking just at the edges of their shared crisis. Who were they, really? As Oliver gasped again, the air split into a new dimension, one tinged with something supernatural. Lydia opened her eyes, and the room blurred, voices fading to echoes as her focus narrowed to Oliver. His heart raced under her palms, each beat resonating with a frantic urgency. "I want to let you go," she vowed, but little did she know that unseen forces were at play. The shadow in the doorway took a step forward, a chilling smile spreading across their lips. It was a warning, a promise of calamity that loomed closer by the second. Lydia's heart pounded louder, the realization crashing over her with tumultuous force. Saving Oliver wouldn't simply depend on her alone. The stakes were far higher than she could ever imagine, and the cost might be more than she was prepared to pay. What had she unlocked with her unassuming courage? As the figure advanced, questions converged. What if she wasn't just saving a life but setting off a chain reaction? In that moment, Lydia knew this was only the beginning. Lydia felt a surge of warmth radiating from Oliver's body, yet the icy grip of fear tightened around her heart. Every second stretched into eternity as she fought against the dark presence edging closer. The crowd, once hushed, now buzzed with a nervous energy, whispers ricocheting off the walls. What if she fails? Is he really going to be okay? Oliver's chest rose slowly under her hands, each breath more labored than the last. "Lydia," he murmured again, each syllable wrapping around her like a tightening noose. "I've got you, I swear," she breathed, her voice trembling, but resolute. The room shuddered as a gust of wind whipped through the half-open window, rattling the glass and tugging at her hair. Instinctively, she glanced toward the doorway where the ominous figure loomed, now fully formed under the harsh light. Adeline stepped forward, her eyes locked on Lydia with equal parts admiration and defiance. "What do you mean he needs us to believe?" Her voice was thick, like molasses, frayed at the edges with desperation. "It's about hope," Lydia answered, urgency intertwining with faith. She met Adeline's gaze. "If we all believe he can pull through, his spirit will fight. We have to connect with him, break through that barrier together." The figure in the doorway shifted again, a glint of malevolence playing across their lips. Hope is a delicate thing, isn't it? Their voice, smooth and taunting, slithered through the atmosphere. What if it leads to despair instead? Every breath in the room stiffened. Adeline's brow furrowed as she squeezed the space between her fingers. "Who are you?" she demanded, narrowing her eyes on the intruder. "Merely a seeker of truth," the figure replied, stepping forward like a specter, shadow cloaking their features. "Truth or torment?" Lydia shouted, glaring at them. "Those words aren't useful here." She turned back to Oliver, her next words lingering like life itself. "You just have to fight a little harder." Suddenly, Oliver's body convulsed, a gurgling sound rising from his throat. The crowd gasped collectively, dread curling in their stomachs. "No. Stay with me, Oliver," Lydia shouted, shaking him slightly. His eyes flickered open, desperation etched across his features. It was as if he were battling against a current, the weight of something unseen dragging him below. She could see at the flicker of a grim reality behind those once bright blues. The shadowy figure leaned in, voice whispering like wind through trees. "You can't save him, cleaning lady. He is destined for a fate far beyond your control." Gritting her teeth, Lydia shot another look at that dark menace. "Don't listen to them, Oliver. Listen to my voice. Breathe with me." As if responding to her call, a flicker of recognition ignited in Oliver's eyes. For a moment, the darkness receded, and Lydia felt a spark of flicker of light in the void. But before she could fully revel in it, a chilling laugh erupted from the figure. "You really believe your hope can pierce the shadows? You'll understand soon enough that some bonds are not meant to be unbroken." Lydia's heart raced, both fear and defiance coursing through her veins. The weight of her resolve bore down, but she held tight, digging deeper into herself, searching out that primal instinct to protect her mind racing through thoughts of light and strength, and in that moment, she realized, the shadow could only taunt as long as there was light to fade to darkness. The room plunged into silence, the tension palpable, and yet, Lydia felt a surge of determination overshadowing her anxiety. "Oliver!" she cried. "I believe in you. Fight, please." But then, just as the room buzzed to life with renewed hope, something strange began to happen. A shimmering mist seemed to escape from Oliver's body, swirling around them, thickening the air with an ethereal hue. As the eyes of the room fell upon it, the shadow snickered, watching with an indiscernible delight. What did that mist signify? Was it a sign of hope or a prelude to despair? Caught between the budding light and the looming darkness, the boundaries of reality began to blur. And suddenly, everything changed. What new reality stood before them, and what would happen to Oliver next? As uncertainty radiated through Lydia's chest, one question loomed larger than the rest: had she done more than just offer hope, or had she awakened something far more dangerous within Oliver? The shimmering mist wrapped around Lydia and the others like a veil, drawing gasps of awe and fear alike. The air crackled with energy, suffused with something both chilling and electric. Lydia's heart raced. What had she unleashed in her desperate plea for Oliver to hold on? Across the room, Oliver's body arched, and his eyelids fluttered. It was as if he were treading water in an unforgiving sea, fighting to break free from the suffocating depths. Lydia felt every pulse of his struggle, resonating deep within her chest. "It feels like he is shifting," Adeline murmured, her eyes wide, glancing from the ethereal mist to Oliver's agony-stricken face. The shadowy figure stepped closer, their presence like a thick fog that seemed to snuff out any remaining warmth in the air. "You're playing with forces you cannot comprehend," it cooed, a wicked smile tracing its lips. Lydia turned sharply, anger replacing her fear. "Get away from him." She stepped protectively in front of Oliver, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling around her. "He is stronger than you think." For a fleeting second, Oliver's eyes locked with Lydia's. Within those blue depths, she could see a flicker of something: recognition, maybe a glimmer of hope. She pressed on. "Fight it, Oliver. Push through." As if her words were a lifeline, the mist pulsed, shifting colors like a liquid rainbow. But with every ripple, the shadow darkened. You have no idea what awaits him in that fog. The more he fights, the more entangled he becomes in the grasp of despair. Lydia's stomach twisted. Despair. The very word weighed heavily in the charged atmosphere. You're lying. He can hear me. He will come back to us. Panic clawed at her throat as she braced herself against Oliver's convulsing body. Yet the murmurs in the crowd grew louder, uncertainty creeping into their hearts. What if she's wrong? Someone whispered, echoing a sentiment that cut like a jagged knife. Why don't we all? Adeline began, trying to rally support, but before she could finish, the air vibrated, penetrated by a booming roar. The mist exploded violently, throwing Lydia back against the wall. The crowd gasped collectively, then fell into a heavy silence. The swirling fog congealed, forming a grotesque figure that mirrored the shadow's features, yet more sinister, more alive. See? You've unleashed his torment, the figure taunted, its voice a dark melody echoing in the corners of the room. Lydia pushed herself off the ground, determination rising again. No. I won't let you take him. Her words felt weak against the creature's laughter, a cacophony that seemed to consume the light around them. But in that moment, something unyielding broke through her fear. A sudden memory surged within her, her mother's stories about the strength of love, the power to banish shadows. Barely containing the whirlwind of emotions, she shouted into the abyss, "You don't own him. Love is stronger than any darkness." At those words, a brilliant flash ignited in the air, illuminating the dim room. Everyone shielded their eyes as a blinding light erupted around Oliver, the mist responding to Lydia's defiance, swirling with newfound vibrancy as if buoyed by her conviction. Oliver's body began to rise, suspended in a dance between reality and the unfathomable depths that had ensnared him. The distorted figure howled, its form distorting and shifting wildly, losing its grip on the atmosphere, but Lydia's heart stopped when she realized the glow was not just a pulse of energy. It was drawing Oliver further away from her. Oliver! She screamed, terror ripping through her. As the shadow shrieked in unadulterated fury, the light enveloped Oliver and pulled him up, hovering near the ceiling, caught in a bittersweet battle between two realms. Lydia's hands clenched into fists, desperation clawing at her throat. He's not yours to claim. Yet the shadow's laughter rang louder. Then let us see how far your love can stretch. Gasping for breath, Lydia felt the cold tendrils of dread slip around her heart again. What was she really battling? The onslaught of despair? Or the monstrous truths buried deep within Oliver? And as the figures clashed, Lydia could only wonder, who would be the victor, and at what cost? Would she manage to drag him back into the light, or would he forever succumb to the dark truths that awaited? The light surrounding Oliver blazed brighter, engulfing the room in an eerie glow that turned shadows into elongated shapes. Lydia felt a pull, a magnetic tug that threatened to suck her into Oliver's struggle. "Stay with me," she cried, her throat raw with emotion. Oliver's face twisted in pain, the conflict inside him evident. He seemed to be caught in a tidal wave of agony and brilliance, a dance between salvation and damnation. The grotesque figure, writhing like a serpent, leaned in closer. "You think love can save him?" It mocked, its voice dripping with disdain. "Love is but a whisper in the face of despair." Lydia gritted her teeth, refusing to be swayed. "You don't know anything about love," she shouted, each word steadying her resolve. "Love is the fiercest force there is. It fought for me, and it will fight for Oliver." Around her, the crowd stirred uneasily. Whispers escalated to shouts as others tried to process the unfolding nightmare. "Make it stop. What is happening?" someone yelled, fear tainting the air. But Lydia's focus was unwavering. She reached out, her hand trembling in desperation, fighting the growing distance between them. "Oliver. Please. Remember when we used to?" Her voice cracked, but she pressed on, each memory an anchor in the storm. "Remember the summer nights we spent by the lake, the way we dreamed about the future. In the depths of turmoil, for just a heartbeat, Oliver's eyes flickered with recognition. Lydia could almost see the battle raging inside him, the dark mist tangling around his limbs, yet the brilliant light pulsing in response to her every word. "Don't you remember the laughter?" she pleaded, taking a step closer, her heart racing. "Don't you want to come back? I need you. We need you. Fight back. You're not alone." The shadow bristled, its form twisting again, hissing in anger as it writhed. "How naive. The memories you cling to are nothing but ghosts. They can't save him. Let go, little girl. Embrace the darkness, his true self." "No!" Lydia shouted, her voice echoing against the walls. She felt a swell of energy rise within her, an urgency born not just from her love for Oliver but from the very depths of her soul. She could feel it connecting to the light, weaving through their bond, granting her strength. The monstrous figure recoiled as a wave of warmth surged forth, radiating from Lydia's heart. "You will not take him from me." She stepped further into the mist, pushing through the energy that crackled and whipped at her like a storm. With a fierce scream, she gathered her energy, summoning every ounce of love and belief she had. The brilliance around Oliver flared in response, illuminating the darkness that surrounded him. He was drifting, caught in the limbo of light and shadow, but Lydia refused to let go. Then, just as she thought the light might falter, Oliver's features softened, the storm within him calming. "Lydia," he murmured, almost lost in the cacophony, yet crystal clear to her ears. His voice sparked an awakening. The mist solidified, trembling, battling against the potency of their connection. Lydia's eyes widened, hope blossoming, but the shadow no longer lurked quietly. It roared in fury, a twisted specter shrieking against the inevitable. "Foolish girl! You have no idea what you're awakening. His suffering will consume you." The figure lunged, reaching toward Lydia with claws of pure night, desperate to snuff out the light. Just as the darkness threatened to swallow her whole, a force surged from Oliver, igniting a pulse of white-hot energy that surged through the room, a force born of love and defiance against despair. But as the mist flickered and sputtered, an even more chilling presence awoke in the background, watching and waiting what lay beyond the veil, and would they be able to withstand its wrath? The air crackled anew with tension as Lydia gasped, sensing that the battle was far from over. What were they really fighting, and who else would emerge from the shadows? The world warped around Lydia as the roaring dark invaded her senses, flooding her with dread. Her heart pounded violently in her chest, matching the frantic rhythm of her thoughts. The shadow surged, claws extended, and for a moment, she thought, maybe she hadn't been strong enough. "Oliver!" she screamed, her voice a tether reaching across the void. She could feel the light around him flickering, battling the encroaching darkness with every ounce of its being. "Fight!" It was a simple word, but the weight behind it felt colossal. "Fight for us." She could see a spark of who he used to be, hidden beneath layers of despair, and it made her want to shatter the darkness with everything she had. The shadow lunged, its form twisting into something monstrous, an amalgamation of every fear Lydia had ever felt. Its eyes glowed like coal, penetrating the air with a chilling gaze. "Embrace the end, little girl. This fight is beyond you," it hissed, the rancid breath curling around her, making her stomach turn. "No!" Lydia shouted, the heat of her defiance igniting her spirit. "You don't understand love. You don't understand what he means to me." With the energy she gathered, Lydia reached out. "Oliver!" she cried, her voice cutting through the haze. "I'm here. You're not alone." A flicker of light pierced the darkness, illuminating the contours of Oliver's face once more. His eyes, once trapped within despair, began to awaken further, searching for her. Was it hope? Or simply a flicker of recognition? Lydia couldn't tell, but she felt it resonate within her. The grotesque figure twisted, screaming in fury. "You dare challenge fate? You are insignificant." But even as it lunged, something shifted inside Oliver. The light pulsed more fiercely, a shield growing stronger around him. It was as if his very existence fought back, eager to fend off the encroaching night. "Lydia," he breathed again, an echo laced with longing. It felt as if a wave rippled through their bond, allowing her energy to pour into him. "Hold on," she urged, trembling, breaths coming in quick gasps. Would they pay for this fight with something far more valuable than they understood? Suddenly, from the furthest corner of the room, a low growl arose, vibrating through the air. Heads turned, a dim recognition settling among the crowd, though dread outweighed understanding. An ominous, dark silhouette materialized, stealing every breath from the room. The monstrous figure that had mocked them moments before now shifting to reveal something far more sinister lurking just behind it. Lydia felt her heart seize. This wasn't just an entity born of despair, it was something older, something that relished in suffering itself. A thick, unnatural presence filled the space. "What are you?" she whispered, paralyzed as sweat dripped down her back. The smaller shadow seemed to bow, a grotesque reverence for this new dark force. The air thickened, pressing down against her lungs. "You thought you could bring back the light?" It echoed with a voice that slithered into her mind, wrapping around each thought like a vice. Panic surged through Lydia as realization set in. They hadn't just been fighting for Oliver, they were unwittingly drawing the attention of something bigger than they knew. Together. Oliver's voice broke through the fog of fear. The light around him shimmered, ignited by a shared resolve, and Lydia clutched at that hope. She couldn't let it slip away. But the sinister presence all around them laughed, an unsettling sound that cut through the air and sent chills down her spine. "You wish to combat destinies intertwined in darkness, so be it." As the atmosphere charged, tension built to a breaking point, every soul in the room held its breath. What new horrors awaited them? One truth loomed large: their fight was only just beginning. And in that moment of stillness, something else began to stir in the shadows, something more terrifying than they could imagine. Lydia's breath hitched in her throat, a sharp reminder of the danger that flanked them. The air crackled around the dark figure, its laughter skimming across her skin like icy fingertips. She could hear the heartbeat of every spectator in the room, pulse quickening in tandem with her own. Time felt suspended, like they were all caught in an unbreakable moment of fear and anticipation. "Remember us." Oliver's voice was a mere whisper now, as if even the darkness was absorbing his strength. But the flicker she had witnessed before was refusing to give in. As her heartbeat crashed against her ribcage, she felt every part of her body urging her to rise. "Focus, Oliver," Lydia urged, her voice firmer this time. "We need to push back together." The shadow loomed larger, its amorphous body seething in response, and Lydia could feel its hunger, a maw opening wide, ready to consume. It was no longer just a fight for Oliver, it was a battle for their very souls. With a determined shove, she pressed her hands against the solid wall of light surrounding Oliver, willing every ounce of her energy into him. "You're not alone," she shouted, each word thrumming with desperate hope. "Remember our laughter, our dreams, hold on to them." A warmth spread through her, feeding off the connection they shared. And in that fleeting moment, she caught a glimpse of a memory, a sun-drenched afternoon filled with laughter and the smell of fresh grass. She could almost hear the echo of their shared hopes, intertwining and lifting them toward the surface like a lifeline. The darkness roared in protest, twisting closer, but the light stirred defiantly. Oliver's face illuminated with newfound strength, his body straightened, and suddenly, the air crackled, not with fear, but defiance. "Lydia, I can feel you," he shouted, voice growing stronger. "I'm not done yet." The laugh of the dark figure morphed into a snarl. "Foolish mortals. Your light is an illusion. I thrive on despair. Your love cannot shield you from this fate." It lunged forward, claws extended, reaching for the fragile threads of hope that connected them. "Fate is what we make of it." Lydia screamed back, her voice echoing through the thick, ominous haze. The room shuddered, and in that moment of confrontation between light and darkness, the walls vibrated. A blinding pulse of energy surged from Oliver, rallying to push back against the shadow. It was a wave of warmth against the cold, the very memories they had forged together bursting forth like fireworks. The sinister figure faltered, its form flickering before them. What? No. It hissed, eyes narrowing in confusion. This is impossible. Lydia seized the opportunity. Together. She called out again, raising her hands as if to harness the growing light. We are stronger than you think. With every ounce of her will, she channeled their love into a brilliant burst of energy, cascading towards the monstrous shadow. It spiraled upward, tearing through the restraint of the dark, and a ripple of light erupted, illuminating every corner of the room. Screams of shock and terror erupted from the onlookers as they shielded their eyes, but instead of retreating, the shadow grew more monstrous, burgeoning larger and angrier. You dare to defy me? It screeched, the sound piercing through the noise, wrapping around them like chains of fear. I will feed on your despair. Lydia felt the grotesque truth ripple through her, magically twisting with the light. This battle was more than a fight against darkness, it was a collision of choices, destinies clashing with the power of belief. Her heart raced in sync with the pulses of light. Could they really win, against something that thrived on their worst moments? As the shadows writhed, the room brightened, but the dark force rolled back despite the brilliance surrounding them. In that moment, another figure emerged from the haze, cloaked in even deeper darkness, something more ancient and powerful. As Lydia turned her gaze to confront this new threat, a cold dread washed over her. What now? And as a distant, unsettling chant echoed through the air, she knew they were far from safe. Embrace the final embrace, it sang, leaving her breathless and trembling. What terrifying secrets lay just beyond their grasp? The chanting grew louder, a symphony of despair ringing in Lydia's ears, twisting around her stomach like a vice. The crowd, once filled with whispers of encouragement, now recoiled in horror, faces pale under the spectral glow. Lydia could feel the chill radiating from the deepening shadow, and it coiled around her like a serpent, ready to strike. Do not falter. Oliver shouted, his voice slicing through the darkness. He stood tall, defiance etched in his every feature. Together, we can push this thing back. Lydia nodded, heart pounding furiously. She couldn't let doubt seep into her resolve. Now was not the time. With her hands still hovering above Oliver's body, she concentrated, pulling at the warmth within her. She could feel their memories thrumming to life, almost tangibly, encircling them like a shield against the cold. But as the chant crescendoed, a voice emerged from the shadows, low and commanding. You think your love can protect you? It only makes you weaker. Your memories are suffocating you. The stark realization hit Lydia like a brick. Memories can also be chains. She fought back a wave of nausea, clenching her jaw. No. Our memories ignite our strength. They're not chains. They're our lifeline. With every ounce of fury she could muster, Lydia tightened her grip, willing the love they nurtured to shine brighter, overflow with hope, and push against the encroaching darkness. But the shadow wasn't backing down. Writhing, it grew larger, feeding on the fear emanating from the crowd. Faces twisted in terror, and that terrified energy became palpable. Lydia swept her gaze across, locking eyes with the others. Believe. Remember who you are. She urged, her voice rising above the chant. We're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for each other. The spectators blinked, hesitating, but one by one, they echoed her words. We're not alone. The lighting shifted as the combined outpouring of belief pooled into a radiant orb, illuminating Oliver's face with fierce determination. The dark figure began to flicker more violently, a visage of disbelief washing over its shadowy features. No. No. This cannot be. You are nothing but mortals. It howled, the newly formed light swirled, sometimes flickering, other times radiating warmth like the sun chasing away night. The darkness shuddered, and for a brief moment, Lydia thought she saw a crack within its form, a glimpse of the freedom beyond. But then, the ancient figure stepped forward, cloaked in darkness. Its presence was overwhelming, cold wind sweeping through the room as if a storm brewed. "Silly children," it murmured, voice smooth like ice, "your efforts are futile. I am the abyss, the eternal night. You cannot fathom the depth of your despair." Oliver shifted forward, shielding Lydia unconsciously. "We won't give in," he spat defiantly, voice echoing with a newfound boldness. "Our hope is our weapon." The ancient figure laughed, a sound that sliced through the air like glass. "Hope. Hope is what leads you to fall into despair faster." Driven by desperation, Lydia broke free from her doubts. "But despair makes us human. We embrace our darkness, and it gives us strength. Love gives us hope, and hope ignites a fire even the darkest shadow can't extinguish." At her words, the orb of radiant light swelled. Lydia could feel the warmth gathering from all around them, each heart rekindled with hope. The dark figure shrieked, a sound that rattled the very foundations of their reality. "Fools! You really think you can banish me?" It hissed, but the light surged forward, wrapping itself around the ancient figure and causing it to thrash violently. The shadowy tendrils writhed, pulling back, but in that chaos, Lydia spotted something glimmering below the shadow's depth, a spherical jewel radiating darkness, pulsing like a heartbeat. "What is that?" she thought, her mind racing. "Oliver!" She cried out suddenly, her heart racing with realization. "We can do this. We can beat this thing." As the darkness convulsed, she knew the next step was crucial. But what if it required a sacrifice? Would they have the courage to face their fears fully? As they pressed on, she grasped his hand tighter, determined to reveal the truth hidden beneath the veil of darkness. Would they have to confront not just the shadow but the very depths of their own despair? "Together, Oliver! On 3! She shouted, holding on to a glimmer of hope while dread coiled low in her belly. 1, 2. But would they truly be ready for the reckoning that was coming? The stakes were higher than ever, and Lydia's heart thundered a warning in her chest. 3. The moment they shouted the last number, a fierce light erupted from their clasped hands, a torrent of radiant energy flooding the room, swallowing the darkness whole. Lydia felt every ounce of hope and strength she summoned emanate outward, suffusing the very air with warmth and brightness. The ancient figure shrieked, a dissonant, agonizing cry that reverberated in her bones. Its monstrous form began to warp and ripple, the edges fraying as if the light was unraveling everything it touched. Yet, buried deep within the shadow, the pulsating jewel flickered ominously, casting waves of gloom even beneath the brilliance of their combined will. "Hold it together!" Lydia shouted, her voice fueled by adrenaline. She could feel Oliver's hand trembling in hers, but they had come this far. They couldn't waver now. What is that?" Oliver breathed, his eyes wide as the jewel's dark glow seemed to draw him in, its energy compelling yet frightening. It was as if it were alive, a wicked heart beating deep in the shadows. "We need to confront it. It's the source of its power," Lydia urged, breathless. The orb of light surged forward, crashing against the ancient figure, forcing it to recoil. "You cannot destroy me," it bellowed, but the light kept pressing, relentless like an army marching into battle. As they moved closer, the jewel's pulse quickened, matching the rhythm of Lydia's heart, driving a wave of fear through her. Memories flooded her head, the time spent with Oliver, the laughter shared, and even the pain of their struggles. Could any of it hold the key to unraveling this nightmare? "Together!" she shouted again, their voices harmonizing with the light. Instead of surrendering to despair, they embraced their trials, channeling every laugh and tear, every moment shared. They were more than memories, they were resilience, they were strength. As they closed the distance, shadows lashed out like whips, trying to pry them apart. Oliver grunted, pulling Lydia closer, "We can't let it separate us." Each word he pronounced felt like a vow, and in that vow, Lydia found a fierce grounding. They were bound through trials, through passion, through everything they had faced. "We will not falter. Not now," she cried, summoning memories infused with purpose that spiraled into the light, the jewel flickered helplessly, caught in the chaos of their rising power. Lydia and Oliver's flames of connection wrapped around the ancient figure, hot and unyielding, until finally, with an excruciating crack, the underlying darkness shattered like fragile glass. A scream pierced the air, raw and visceral, detonating into a silence that swallowed the surrounding chaos. As the shadow fell away, a strange stillness enveloped the air. The crowd breathed as one, stunned and wide-eyed. The ancient figure lost its grip, collapsing into shadows that coiled like smoke, but amidst the wreckage, the jewel remained, pulsing stubbornly. It was still there, whispering promises of darkness. No. Lydia gasped, her breath catching. What do we do about that? It's not over. Just then, shards of light sparkled from the remnants of the ancient figure, igniting the room in brilliant hues. The crowd stirred, still unsure whether to celebrate their victory or brace for another confrontation. We need to destroy that thing. Oliver shouted, moving toward the jewel. No. Wait. Lydia cried, fear lacing her voice. It may be more than a weapon. What if it holds secrets we need? Oliver stopped and looked back at her, confusion sculpting his features. What kind of secrets? We can't risk letting it live. In that moment, uncertainty seized her heart, like a vice. Did they have the right to use such power? Or to allow it to exist? The thought tormented her, plunging her into doubt. Should we trust it? What if it's still a trap? She whispered, fear creeping up her spine. A choice loomed before them, heavy with consequence. Fight or understand? Would they face yet another darkness, or would they unlock something forgotten? The air thickened around them, promises of danger entwined with the possibility of discovery. And deep within her, a question simmered: could this jewel hold the key to another fight, or would it unleash a nightmare beyond imagination? As the tension tightened around them, Lydia gripped Oliver's hand harder. They stood on the brink, staring into the unknown, the threat of darkness still lingering in their hearts. What would they choose to do next? Lydia steadied herself, breath heavy but resolute. The pulsating jewel before them seemed to thrum with possibility and danger alike. We can't let fear dictate our choices, Oliver. We have to understand why it's still here, she urged, locking eyes with him, her heart racing. He hesitated, glancing back at the remnants of the shadow. But consider what it could do. What if it's a trap? Trust me, Lydia replied, squeezing his hand tighter. We've come this far together. Let's take a moment and see what secrets it holds. There might be answers. With that, she took a bold step toward the jewel, Oliver closely following her fearful gaze. The crowd around them was still. No whispers, no doubts. Only the echoes of what had just happened hung in the charged air. Lydia hesitated, knowing that pushing forward could lead to either ruin or revelation. The jewel pulsated, its energy almost inviting. Tendrils of darkness twisted and sparked in response to Lydia's very presence, as if sensing the combination of determination and daring she held within her heart. Stay with me, she whispered to Oliver as they moved closer. Together, they approached the glowing treasure, bravery outweighing fear. A soft voice rose from its depths. You seek the truth, but truth can be a double-edged sword. Lydia's breath caught as she felt the weight of the jewel's words reverberate through her. What do you mean? She pressed, feeling the warmth of Oliver beside her. The shadows consume, but they reveal too, the voice continued. This jewel holds the history of all despair and all love combined, a balance woven in darkness and light. You must decide, do you wish to cast it away or embrace it to understand your own fears? The weight of the choice pressed down on Lydia. Embrace that which they had fought so hard against. But understanding could also illuminate the path ahead. What must we do? She asked, her heart pounding. Face me with your truths. Only then will you determine my fate, the jewel's voice intoned, a haunting melody filled with sorrow and wisdom. Lydia looked at Oliver, searching his face for an answer. In that moment, she recalled their countless conversations, their shared hopes, laughter, and deepest fears. This jewel embodied all their struggles. Would confronting their deepest vulnerabilities push them into despair, or illuminate their strength? Together, she said decisively, glancing firmly at Oliver. We face it together. With a nod of agreement, they stepped forward, feeling a swirl of energy engulf them. The jewel brightened, an aura casting over them like sunlight. Memories joined with revelations blossomed in the air, the joy of love, the weight of sadness. In your pain, you found each other, the jewel echoed, enveloping them in light. Cherish that balance. In an instant, the room filled with flashes of memories, all their shared moments crystallizing into images, quiet evenings by the lake, daring dreams whispered under starlit skies, and the sheer joy of laughter echoed in the face of adversity. Let go of your fear and embrace your truth, the jewel urged, shimmering with their collective memories. The shadows didn't retreat, they danced, twirling in a chaotic waltz as they battled against the growing light. Oliver, Lydia breathed, feeling the warmth of hope surge through her. We're more than our past fears. We create our own future. With their hearts synchronized, they grasped the warmth radiating from each memory, letting every ounce flood over them. They could feel it, an undeniable strength born not from ignorance but acceptance. Together, they summoned their truths, channeling love and strength into the very centerpiece of darkness that once consumed Oliver. A resounding crash echoed through the room as they unleashed the light, shattering the remaining shadows and pulsating through the jewel. The grotesque remnants of dread shattered like glass into countless fragments, spiraling away as the darkness dissipated into nothingness. Suddenly, the energy surrounding the jewel shimmered, dazzling them with ethereal beauty. The air filled with a soft hum, a reminder of the delicate balance woven in life. You have chosen to face the truth, together, the jewel whispered with finality, its light ebbing to a gentle glow. May it guide you forth. And just like that, a calm seeped into every corner of the room. The air felt lighter, as if a heavy burden had been lifted. Lydia inhaled deeply, her chest swelling with a sense of relief that washed over them. The crowd erupted into a riot of emotions: relief, joy, disbelief, each face lit with triumph. Lydia felt Oliver's grip tighten as he beamed down at her, smiles connecting them in shared victory. In that moment, they found their peace, each knowing they would never again allow despair to overshadow their light. The past would remain a part of them, but it no longer dictated their future. They had discovered that even the rawest parts of life could be faced with love. As the energy of the jewel dimmed, they exchanged glances filled with unbreakable understanding. Lydia whispered against the hush of post-battle silence, "We did it." "Yes, we did," Oliver smiled, warmth radiating in his blue eyes. Together. And as the candles flickered around the room, the chandelier above casting glimmers of hope, Lydia and Oliver stepped forward, ready to forge a future built on love and acceptance. They would face challenges anew, but they knew they could weather any storm. Together, they were unstoppable. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Your engagement truly makes a difference.